Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Poke Report. We will be discussing OSU football and soccer. I'm Jasmine Adams. This week we will be reviewing OSU's first conference loss as well as the Cowgirls' win against the Sooners. Last week the Cowboys played against number 12 TCU Horned Frogs. The OSU offense struggled against TCU's defense, especially in the second half, which led to only field goals for the Cowboys, which ended with a 42-9 win for the Horned Frogs. Here's a look from Greg Benson with the more in-depth look of the game.
OSU suffered its first Big 12 loss at the hands of TCU on Saturday. TCU scored early and often, starting with this big 34-yard run by B.J. Catalon to put the Horned Frogs up 7-0. Shortly after, it was another big play strike with this 77-yard touchdown pass from Trayvon Boykin to Josh Dotson, putting TCU on top 14-0 quickly. The Cowboys responded with one of their only 3 field goals on the day, a 30-yarder from Grogan to make the score 14-3. Offensive coordinator Mike Yurcich said the offense needs to improve, especially in the red zone.
Execution of the offense, everything's involved, whether it's run game, pass game, protecting the quarterback, running the ball effectively, and at the same time you have to give the defense some credit. They did some good things in that game last Saturday. They made plays too. They're good coaches and they're good players, so you got to tip your hat to the defense as well. But we have a lot of room to improve, and obviously the score zone and red zone is a big emphasis.
TCU went up 21-3 with this 84-yard touchdown pass to Josh Dotson at the end of the first quarter. Defensive coordinator Glenn Spencer said the defense needs to correct some errors moving forward.
Not so much adjustments, but just seeing the errors and correcting them, working on them in practice, and again going back to the fundamentals of what we have to stop against West Virginia. So adjustment-wise, we'll have a game plan like we do every week. That's not because of what happened last week, but we'll have a game plan of what we think our guys can execute and be successful with on Saturday. But when we're in position, we have to make plays, and I've got to make better calls in situations to get us in position to make plays.
With the score now 21-9, TCU added another touchdown just before the half to make it 28-9 and would go on to win the game 42-9. For the Poke Report, I'm Greg Benson.
Thanks, Greg. It seems Trayvon Boykin had a field day with OSU defense. The OSU will definitely need to improve before number 22 West Virginia comes to Stillwater for homecoming. The Mountaineers are 5-2 and will be coming to Stillwater after an impressive win against the Baylor Bears. The Pokes defense will definitely need to slow down the dynamic duo Clint Trickett and Kevin White to control the game. The OSU's offense definitely needs to be able to go against West Virginia defense, who held the Baylor Bears to 315 yards, a season low. Along with an exciting game comes the experience of homecoming week. This week marks the 94th year of America's greatest homecoming celebration. Here's a look at how OSU makes homecoming such a special event. Homecoming to Stillwater brings alumni, fans, and players all together to experience a week fulfilled with fun activities for the student body. Homecoming is completely different for football players.
Well, that's something that I really haven't had the chance to really be a part of, playing in the games and everything like that. But I know it gets pretty crazy around here.
While the football players were playing at TCU, members of organization were playing football too. Although the students were playing football all weekend, they still had their OSU spirit. Just knowing the students have so much pride for their school gives the Cowboys an extra boost.
Yeah, it's always exciting, like having fans and people doing what they got to do, and it's just a fun atmosphere.
After the loss to TCU, homecoming is much needed for the Cowboys for Saturday when they face West Virginia. The Cowboys have won 6 of the last 7 homecoming games. Therefore, everyone hopes that homecoming may be the spark that the Cowboys need to quiet the critics.
Of course people are going to say those things, especially after our performance Saturday, but we got to bounce back, and we will bounce back.
With West Virginia being ranked 22, this marks an important game for the Cowboys. However, As OSU's football team prepares for West Virginia, the football players all know just how big homecoming really is.
But it's a great tradition around here, and I'm glad that it's like that here.
Awesome, thank you.
We, have the best homecoming around, so it should be a good one.
Homecoming is not just about a football game. It is about everyone coming together and celebrating your love for your school for a whole week and longer. That is why Oklahoma State is America's greatest homecoming celebration. The Cowboys will continue forward against West Virginia with a great support system behind them. For the Polk Report, this is Jasmine Adams. Homecoming is really a special event for students and alumni for OSU. But it's also easy to see why the players get so excited for the game. Although we may only see the success of the football players on the field, there's also the strength and conditioning coaches who help behind the scenes to get them in the best shape possible. And Amanda Sebring brings us more details about the strength and conditioning coaches and what exactly they do for the OSU football team.
A strength and conditioning program is vital to any successful sports team. For the OSU football team, this isn't taken lightly. In addition to the regular practices, players spend most of their time in the weight room. The importance of strength and conditioning is more than just building your muscles.
The point of strength conditioning, first and foremost, is really to increase and enhance athletic performance. So we're trying to make our athletes more powerful, more explosive, whether a football player, basketball player, wrestler, baseball player, doesn't matter. The premise and the basics are the same.
The players recognize the importance of the strength and conditioning program and the role that the coaches have.
For us, it disciplines us. The strength coaches hold us accountable for everything we do. And then obviously the conditioning part of it, they get us ready for practice, they get us ready to play. We're with them more than we are with the coaches, so they really take care of us and they really, get us right so we can play.
But for the Cowboys, it is more than just a player-coach relationship. The strength coaches take on a role that is unlike any other.
I think especially on mornings like this morning, about half psychologists coming off a loss. So, especially Joel and Tremaine, they have a wonderful relationship with our guys, and they do a lot of talking to our guys and stuff during lift. But also, not just watching technique and making sure they're doing the lifts correct, but providing motivation, because as you know, getting up this morning at 6:30 is difficult enough, let alone having to maximize, what they're doing.
What a lot of people don't know is that the strength and conditioning coaches have the strongest relationship with the athletes.
If you look at most programs, the strength conditioning staff has the closest relationship with the players, because we see them year round. We have them winter, spring ball, summer, season, bowl practice. So, we have them all year where the coaches don't.
So whether the coaches are helping to build the players mentally or physically, the weight room is molding them into becoming better athletes. For the Polk Report, I'm Amanda Sebring.
Thanks, Amanda. The Cowboys will face off the West Virginia Mountaineers on Saturday at 2:30. We will take a quick break, but stay tuned for an exciting overtime win against the Sooners. Welcome back to the Polk Report. The Cowgirls had a soccer matchup this Friday that turned out to a game you didn't want to miss. The Cowgirls is coming away with a 2-1 overtime win against the Sooners. Allie Stevenson made the game even more exciting at the overtime when she got an unassisted goal at the 97th minute. Austin Knox got a chance to watch the game unfold while the Cowgirls picked up a Bedlam victory. Here's Austin Knox with the story.
If the Cowgirls soccer team keeps playing like they have been, it may turn out to be a special season. After losing their first 6 games, they came into the weekend with a match against OU looking to win their 9th out of the last 11. The match was just as rough as expected between these two fierce rivals, with each team combining for 30 fouls and 5 yellow cards. The Cowgirls took an early advantage when Delaney Keeley put in her second goal of the season, giving OSU the early lead. The Cowgirls would take the lead in the intermission, but early in the second half, the Sooners would strike back with a goal from Lizzie Llewellyn, which tied it up at 1-1. That score would hold until the end of regulation, and they went into a winner-take-all overtime. OSU's Madison Mercado almost ended it all in the 95th minute when she blasted a shot that ricocheted off the crossbar. Just 2 minutes later, Allie Stevenson decided that they had played enough and kicked a rocket into the corner to end the game. This wasn't Stevenson's first time to score a game winner against OU. She did the same with just 46 seconds left in the second overtime of last year's Bedlam match.
Well, it's happened a couple times before at OU, or against OU too, so that's just like my favorite spot to sit because it always pops out and I always get a chance on it, and then buried it. Feels really good.
Cowgirls head coach Colin Carmichael talked after the game about how much momentum a win like this will give the team.
It's massive. I mean, for us to come back now, that's 9-1-1 in the last 11 against some really good teams, and to beat your Bedlam rivals that way. After losing the first game, it was great. So, it gives us a lot of confidence.
With this win, the Cowgirls moved to 4-1-1 in conference play and are now second behind West Virginia in the Big 12 standings. For the Poke Report, I'm Austin Knox.
Thanks, Austin. With the win against the Sooners, the Cowgirls are now 9-7-1. They will now turn their attention to the West Virginia Mountaineers, who are now 11-2-2. Delaney Kiley will play a huge role into slowing down the Mountaineers' defense. Here's Katie Cox with a more in-depth look at Delaney Kiley.
Defender Delaney Kiley isn't necessarily used to scoring goals, but she put the Cowgirls on the board first this past weekend as OSU defeated the Oklahoma Sooners 2-1 in overtime.
Kiley has scored 3 goals during her time at OSU, and 2 of those were against OU. She netted her first career goals against OU her freshman year, and she just received her 3rd this past weekend as she gave OSU an early lead.
Kiley might not be the one to charge for the net, but she said the feeling of scoring for your team is indescribable, especially when it's not something that happens often.
It was a really fun feeling. It's like whenever things like that happen, you realize why you play sports, because it's so fun to have that feeling and be a part of a team that can overcome stuff like that, especially since we lost them earlier this year and have been struggling so much. It's great that we're now back at the top of the Big 12 and we get to beat our rival.
Kiley is from Liberty, Missouri, where she played prep soccer at Liberty High School and was an All-State first-team defender in 2010 and 2011 and All-State forward in 2012. She was a multi-sport athlete who claimed Defensive and Offensive Player of the Year awards for her conference and region, all while being captain of the basketball team. Kiley was listed as the 69th best recruit in the nation by TopSoccer.com and ranked 85th in ESPN Rise Top 150 Recruits for 2012. Even though Kansas, Memphis, Minnesota, South Carolina, Alabama, Georgia, and Miami recruited her, she says playing in the Big 12 was something she had always wanted.
I was visiting a couple schools and I really wanted to go to a Big 12 school so my parents could come watch me play a lot more. At that point, Missouri and Nebraska were also in the Big 12, so that gave them a lot of games to be able to come to. But they get to make it to most of the home games, and they obviously go to Kansas. And now we're really lucky because the Big 12 tournament's in Kansas City. So.
Injuries kept Kiley out of the lineup during the early part of the season her freshman year, but she was able to start all 22 games her sophomore year. She led the Cowgirls in minutes played at 2,077 and was part of a defense that recorded 6 shutouts. Associate head coach Justin Elkington says Kiley has gotten stronger since her first year at OSU.
She was always a good ball winner and used to, defenders have to be notorious for that, but she's gotten better, with her distribution out of the back.
OSU struggled during the early part of the season, but with their most recent victory against OU, which marked their 3rd win in a row, the Cowgirls have moved to the very top in the Big 12 conference standings with an overall record of 9-7 with 1 tie.
The Cowgirls return to action Friday night as they travel to Morgantown to seek revenge against the West Virginia Mountaineers for the first time since their disappointing loss in last year's Big 12 championship final. For the Poke Report, I'm Caitlin Cox.
Thanks, Katie. Kiley and the OSU Cowgirls will definitely need to step up in order to get their first road win against West Virginia Mountaineers. In other Big 12 news, Kansas State will be dropping their equestrian team to pick up a soccer team. Kansas State is the only program in the Big 12 without a soccer team until now. In other news, about a year ago, Sports Illustrated released a series of stories accusing Oklahoma State of numerous violations. This week, the university closed the private investigation of all incidents. In a joint statement, the NCAA and the university found the allegations fundamentally untrue. The program could still face level 2 violations, but until then, the university is cleared. That is all we have for the Polk Report. I'm Jasmine Adams, and thanks for watching.